But what's your biggest takeaway from your 20s then?
That you are that bitch. And don't let anyone fucking tell you otherwise.
She knew.
Look in the camera for that one. You are that bitch. All right. Welcome, everybody, to 30, Flirty, and Surviving. My name's Tanisha.
I'm Kelsie.
And I'm Tracy.
Thank you for tuning in. And just in case you guys forgot, why am I looking to the camera being creepy? I don't know. I just feel like it. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, share 30 Flirty Surviving podcast. You can do so on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, and YouTube. I really locked eyes with the camera on that.
I know, and now you're locking eyes with me, and I'm kind of getting warm inside.
I'm just...
Feels nice.
I'm just all about the intenseness today, so...
I like it.
I've had 5 cups of coffee, just so you know, so... Here we go. Let's go.
Have you taken your heart rate recently?
No, but it's like, I'm always...
It's up there.
I'm dead. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll do intermittent pulse tracks just to make sure you're not going to pass out.
Perfect.
Well, I have my Red Bull next to me. Yes. Like, who am I to talk? Okay, well, guys, have you ever heard the expression, when you know better, you do better? I think that mistakes are all part of the process, and we really wanted to get into the lessons learned, not mistakes, the lessons learned in our 20s, and kind of talk about some of the moments that we've been maybe less proud of or that have been more difficult for us, and kind of how we learned from that and grown. And now with the knowledge that we know, we can do better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's like hindsight's 20/20 kind of thing. You look back and you're like, if only I had known that was a red flag or something like that.
Really, though.
But really.
I literally think that every single day.
I know. If you guys had like one specific area you felt most lost in, would you say like career-wise, money-wise, relationship-wise, anything like that in your 20s?
In my 20s. Definitely money, I think. Listen, my relationships
where do I start?
That's a freaking loaded question. I think for career and relationships, it's like I did the best I could at the time, and I feel like really good about that. Money is the area where I'm like, I knew I should have been a little bit more fiscally responsible, but I didn't, and I wish that I was better. So I feel like out of all the kind of areas, that's the one that I wish I could go back and just be smarter about.
I feel like 98% of 20-somethings are like that. It's like, I'd rather get fucked up at this bar and like spend this money, where now I think about it and I'm like, I could have spent that on eggs and milk and like
100%.
the things like, or beauty products, like things that I can physically have and use instead of a hangover.
I wish I could say I learned that. Still work in progress.
Still hungover. Yep.
Money, I mean, that's a tough one in general because we live in such a materialistic world. So it's hard. And like, I'm victim to it. Like, I'll see that shirt and I'm like, it is $200, but it'd be so cute for me to wear on Sunday at brunch when I spend another $300. Definitely still trying to work on that. Yeah.
I think like I don't have a problem spending like a lump sum of money for like a vacation or like if there is a article of clothing that I think is like good quality and worth it.
Piece.
I think it was that's correct. That's correct. A wardrobe staple.
Yes.
But I think that like I guess what I mean more by that is like I just used to live outside my means when I was younger. Like not that I just was always spending like, or not that I'm spending much differently than I was then, but it's like I'm in a place to be able to do that now where I probably wasn't before.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I don't even know. I mean, I think relationship-wise, I'm definitely a different person now than I was then. Like, back then, I was like, what's a red flag? It's like, well, it's looking more yellow. I think we can work with that. Where now it's kind of like, no, sweetie, that's, like, definitely not okay.
Yeah.
And that comes with experience.
Yeah, and I think that when you get older, it's like, and I feel like I've said this a million times, but this is real. Like when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, I have like a lot of time. Like I don't want to waste 5 more years on your ass and be 35 if it's not going to be worth it. So
that's true.
That is interesting. True. For me, I think career, I felt really lost because I couldn't decipher between like personal and business. Like I'm very like much hard on my sleeve. Like I don't want to let you down, and I feel like personally attacked if you give me feedback. Like when I was younger, and now I'm like, okay, like I just roll with the punches, and it's different. But
that's very true. That's a good point.
Yeah, really it was hard to decipher between the two.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back, so it can be from any of those categories or maybe even something that we haven't mentioned. When you think about your 20s, do you have one situation in particular, whether it was like a moment in time or a period of time where you like, maybe it was a relationship or like one stupid mistake, but like one thing that sticks out to you as your major regret?
Yep. Yeah, I think you guys know what it is, but I had a stint, as you guys know, where I didn't deal with my feelings. I just drank them away.
And I would,
okay, we didn't say stories. And I would lash out, and because I just didn't know how to deal with it because I didn't want to like be vulnerable, and instead I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just drink and be fun. I was not fun. I was mean. I was so mean. I always say I don't know how I kept my friends, like because I just was crazy. You're going to talk about the bathroom stall thing, aren't you? Fine.
I went on a walk after like it was like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning with 2 of our friends, and I get there and they're like, "Have you talked to Kelsie?" And I was like, "No, why?" They were like, oh my God. I was like, what happened? So Kelsie used to love to frequent Coogan's. And
$1 drafts, baby. $1 drafts.
They just reopened. They reopened.
Let's go.
And Kelsie apparently like wanted to go there so bad, so they went. And the girls were in the bathroom, and they were like, "Do you want to stay here? Maybe we should go somewhere else." And Kelsie was in the stall, and they didn't know that. And Kelsie busted open the stall door and goes, "We didn't have to come here," and leaves the bathroom.
I was offended by everything because
Kelsie is Coogan's, Coogan's is Kelsie.
Yeah, we were one/Wild Rover, so
oh yeah,
it wasn't good.
That story just killed me. I was like, she did what?
I think I still apologize to this day. So it was just like not being able to be in touch with my emotions. But like that one specific night, I woke up and I was like, do I still have friends? I literally didn't know. So don't do that, people. See a therapist.
Yeah.
Not the bottle.
Not the battle.
Jameson is not your therapist. No. Anyway, what about you guys?
You go. I don't really know. You go. Let me think. Let me brainstorm here. I have a lot of moments.
If I'm being completely honest, there's definitely one situation that sticks out, but I don't know if I'm comfortable sharing it. But like, I think the general consensus for me is a lot of moments that I'm not proud of. Just like, yeah, tons of stuff. But I'm not a person that is like, oh, I wish I could take that back, or I wish I did that differently. I'm not a person who lives in regret. Like, so I learn and I move on. So I think it is like, besides that one encounter, it's like kind of hard for me to think of in general or like specifically something, because I'm like, well, it was a learning lesson. Yeah. It was an opportunity for like you kind of have to learn the hard way a lot of times, I think. So no, I guess.
As long as you grow from it, it's like, that was a shitty situation, but you grew from it and you learned from it and you can admit that.
Totally.
That's big of you. So kudos.
I don't think I have a specific moment that I like regret. I think I've put myself in situations that I regret. I feel like I always go back to relationships, but like I just tend to get myself in some doozies. Yeah. So, and then my ass stays for a very long time. Yeah. So I think like I don't think I regret it. I just wish honestly I learned lessons sooner. Like, I don't know why it takes me so goddamn fucking long to learn lessons. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I will say I regret, or I just have learned, is that, like, you know, maybe you don't need 5 years to like learn a lesson, or even like months. I don't know, just like
5 years, huh? I wonder what she's referring to.
I know. 5 years, 3 years, you know.
I think when you're an empath, it's just different because like I saw something the other day and it was like empaths they still are empathetic towards you because they know what it's like to not be empathized with. So even if you're not empathetic with them, like you want to give that to them and be there for them. So it's different. And you give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe too long, but.
I know. But even like family relationships too. Like I feel like it took me so long to learn lessons, and I just wish back then it didn't take me so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I don't know if you guys have this, but what's your biggest takeaway from your 20s then? Whether it be a lesson or a feeling or...
That you are that bitch. And don't let anyone fucking tell you otherwise.
She knew.
Look in the camera for that one. You are that bitch.
I love that. What about you, Trace?
My biggest takeaway from my 20s would be to stop putting so much weight in other people's opinions of you and to do more things for yourself. I think a lot of my time in my 20s, I spent wondering, am I making my parents proud? Is my boyfriend happy? Does my boss think I do a good job? And that like inhibits you from being able to prohibits you? Not inhibits you.
Yeah.
Prohibits
Isn't that
you.
like when you live
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Inhibit is like when it's inside of you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Take it back.
Can I have a Webster dictionary, please? No, I get what you're saying, though.
I think it like prevents you. There we go. Well, it prevents you from being able to move forward or to like tap into the like your full potential.
Yeah, I think that's something that I also learned. It's like if you don't water yourself, you can't water others. And like the foundation, you need to build that base of foundation that is you in order to be there for someone else because you just can't be.
I think that's like taking it back to our second episode.
Yeah.
You can't fill someone else's cup
It's
if yours
true.
is half empty.
It's true.
Very true.
And also, one other thing that I learned is like time is the most valuable. To me, like I look back and like, you know, I think we've touched upon this, but as you see your parents age and things like that, you think of where you spend your time. Like I think about that way more instead of like
100%.
not seeing them or not seeing my grandmother or like not spending as much time as I can with my friends and family. I like even sometimes if I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I'm like, no, go do it.
Yeah.
Not that you have to be because you need to take time for yourself, but I think it's important.
But yeah, like I think when it comes to how you want to spend your time, it's like you're more in tune with like what feeds your soul. And so it's like if tonight means I'm staying home, then that's what like what's good for me, then I'm going to stay home. But if I really could be around my friends right now or I haven't seen them in a while and I'm comfortable doing that, then that's what I'm going to do rather than just trying to be everywhere at once to make everybody else happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking last night about like that need to want to be in two places at once. Because it's like, you know, the girls are going to get together and I want to go out with them, but then I also want to be in my bed. So if I'm with them, I'm dreaming of my bed. And when I'm in my bed, I'm like, oh, they're probably having so much fun with me.
A vicious cycle.
It really is.
It truly
But yeah,
is.
self-care is huge. And I think it just, once you start like watering yourself, I think things just start to fall into place and the confidence comes and the peace comes and all that stuff just starts to align.
100. If I say 100% one more time, I'm going to cut my own tongue
Hundo
out
P.
of my mouth.
100.
And your perspectives changed over the years about like life or, you know, anything like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I don't, you know, I don't want to say every 20-something-year-old is super narrow-minded, but I felt like I kind of was. Like it's very refreshing to see and hear other people's opinions, even if it's an opposing opinion to mine. Like, and that's not something, I don't know if it's something that I learned or not, but like, it's just refreshing to be able to have like a back and forth conversation with somebody, even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And I think those conversations are very, very important. And a lot of the time people can't find the ability. I'm like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the shoulder, or the back, but like,
Let's give Kelsie a round of applause.
No, but like I just think it's super important to, you know, just hear people's perspectives because that's what makes the world go around. And like your opinion isn't the only opinion out there, and I think a lot of people have a hard time.
Yeah.
So being more open-minded to hearing other people has changed your perspective.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And your perspective is based on your reality, and everyone's reality is different based on what they've gone through.
That was some, what's that Leonardo DiCaprio movie?
Titanic.
No.
That's the only.
Harley, what is it? Yes, that was some Inception shit. Your perspective is your reality, and everybody's reality is different. And then we live in this alternate universe. And what is the universe?
What is reality?
We're about to go down a rabbit hole, guys. Buckle up.
I can't think about that.
I would say the way in which my personal perspective has changed, I think, yes. I think moving across the country changed my perspective a lot because I met a whole group of people with different backgrounds, different ages, different goals. And so that helped shape things. But I think the largest way it's changed is that I think more long-term rather than short-term now. As I've gotten older and as I've learned things, I've realized how seeking immediate gratification in my 20s hasn't always been beneficial to me, and looking for that like quick fix of like what's going to make me happy, or like this is going to be fun for right now, the impacts of that, like to your point, yeah, it's going to be fun to go out to the bar, but then when you add up like the Uber and the all the drinks and the food or whatever,
that's what gets
the
me.
Next day when you have bills to pay, you're like, ah, shit. So I think more of like my down the road and like how what I'm going to do today is going to impact me later. Like
a blessing and a curse. Would you agree? Or do you like that? Because if I think too far, I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think of like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'm not like sitting there like worrying about my future. I just mean like I put more thought into my actions.
Okay.
Like, is this going to be good for me down the road if I do this, or is this only going to help me right now?
I got it.
And then measure kind of like, I think about the consequences. Like, if is good for me right now and I go ahead and do it, is there going to be any ramifications?
Yeah.
And if there's not, then like, yeah, do it. But like, if there's something that could make like have a negative impact on me later, then maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that lately, like how each decision can guide you into a different direction. And it's kind of been like very jarring because if you decide to do this one thing, like thinking like bigger picture, it could lead to this, but just the same, you can change that again. So like 100%. That's what kind of gives me peace of mind.
Hundo P.
You're just the friggin' 100% emoji right now. The 100 underline.
Can we just edit Tracy to 100%?
Just do a video montage of all the times I said 100% today.
And me, I feel like mine's I love that. That's what I say. Or what's yours?
I don't know.
You are that bitch.
Yeah, because you know what?
Tanisha says you are that bitch. You
because
are that
guess
bitch.
what? You are. God damn it. You are. 100 P.
I love that. We just did it. Cut. We're done. That was great.
Oh, man. I don't know if my whole mindset in life has changed when as I got later in life.
As you got later.
As I got older. Later on in life. Good. Crushing it. Killing it. Yeah, I don't know. I think both of what you said definitely applies to my mindset now. Definitely trying to think of things. I was very like, how is my decision going to impact everybody else? And I never put myself first ever. So I think trying to do that in like a way that's not gonna like screw everyone else over, but putting myself first has been a really big thing for me lately, and it's very much improved my mental health, because it's like, I don't know, it's my life, man. Like, how are my life decisions possibly gonna affect you unless you were involved directly in that decision? You know? That makes sense.
I have another off of that. I do have another regret, and somebody called me this once. It might have been you, Tracy. Or Sam, I don't know, but somebody called me a people pleaser, and it like got me so mad.
I was like, shit, I could have said anything, man. And I don't know where this is going.
I was so offended, but now like looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God, And I like still have those tendencies today. And that's like, you think it's a good thing. It's really not, because you're not doing what we were just talking about. You're not like watering yourself and taking care of yourself. You can't base your decisions off of what everybody else is going to think.
Yeah.
You're not happy. I can't make a goddamn decision sometimes because I'm like, oh, I'm going to disappoint these people. It's gross.
I apologize if I was the one to say that to you, because I feel like people pleaser has such a negative
Maybe you
connotation
didn't.
to it.
I don't know who it was.
I think it depends on the level of a people pleaser you are, because people pleasing, if it's to a point that you can't make decisions and you're constantly worried all the time, that's a trauma response.
Yeah.
Because you're so worried about what other people are going to think to the point that it debilitates you from making decisions on your own.
And I've gotten better in that, like with that in my late 20s, early 30s, because I definitely think it is like from trauma, from like past relationships and like just the way that people would react and stuff. So
or just like general like insecurity. It's like you don't have a backbone because you don't want to piss anybody off because you don't want them to not like you. So you just say yes to everything and like pacify people.
That was a big regret of my 20s. But now I totally believe that that's changed because I recognize it and I'm like, oh my God. Because like in the moment I wasn't even realizing it really.
You don't.
So you're like, this is fine. I'm great. I'm so flexible.
And I'm so like go with the flow. And you go home and you're like, I hate myself.
That's incredible.
Eating a box of chocolates. Unless you're Tracy. You're not doing that.
Fuck the cocoa.
Fuck the cocoa.
I don't know. Just what, I guess I don't think things through. I don't know if I'm going to appreciate that line in the long term. Might wish that I didn't say that. Okay. In moments where you have done something or said something that you haven't necessarily been the most proud of, how have you handled those situations, and do you handle it differently now? Do you care to elaborate, or?
I was just waiting. I wasn't going to say your turn because I know it triggers you.
I know, she was staring at me.
Hairy eyeball.
Hairy eyeball? What'd you say?
You never heard of that?
What's that?
It's when you give somebody the hairy eyeball. You give them a dirty look. Is that like from the 50s?
It makes your eye hairy?
No. All right. Anyway.
I don't follow that phrase. I'm sorry.
Hurley. Yes, Hurley knows. He knows.
Do? That's a thing? You can confirm. A hairy eyeball. Do you know the origin? No. Interesting.
Thank you for that.
I think it's still a question mark for me.
Anyway.
Why are you looking at me? You said yeah right away. You go.
Okay. My turn. So yeah, 100%. I think that like it just comes back to my anxiety and like letting things fester. I would react and then I would like shut down and not want to admit my wrongs. Now, tip from Jason Smith from one of our episodes, writing things down honestly has helped me a lot. And before I was like thinking things through, or I was very reactive. Very reactive, and I'm like, I'm right. I don't understand what you're not understanding. Like, I just always thought I was right. That's not the way to think. You know what I mean?
Jason, please forward her the invoices.
Yes, thank you. No, but it comes back to like, you know, what I just said. It's important to listen to other people's opinions. That and like that, it's with people I'm closest with. So it's like it's very important to take a step back and think it through. And you could be wrong just because you feel passionately about one thing. Like, I don't know.
No, I agree.
I don't know.
I think it was the opposite. Going off with I was the opposite, where I feel like I just let people walk all over me and I didn't say anything about it. And I was just like, it's fine, everything's fine. And I definitely found my voice. I wish that there are a lot of instances that I just kind of let things slide, or people say whatever they want or act however they want to me, and I just didn't really say anything about it. So yeah, I think wish I could handle that differently. But now I'm still decisive about what I say. I'm the opposite. I'm not reactive. I like to take a beat before I say what I have to say, because I want it to be meaningful. I want you to understand my perspective. So I think you just like blurt it out, then they're just like, whoa, where did that come from?
I feel like you're making direct eye contact with me.
With both of you.
Yeah.
I agree. I would say that same sentiment. I think that in the past, when I maybe did some things that were mean or not nice, kind of shitty, I used to be like deny. I'm like, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. What are you talking about? That wasn't me, or that's not how it went down. And I feel like, especially because, to your point, like when I'm angry, I'm a little bit of a firecracker, and I say some things. And so sometimes, like, even in my head, when the dust settled and like my emotions had calmed down, I'd be like, I didn't say that. Like, truly, I believed. I'd be like, I didn't say that because like I didn't mean it. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's no way. So yeah, I think that like now my approach is I try my very best to take more accountability for my actions and like ownership when I do things or say things that are wrong. I try to be better about that.
And take that and realize like what triggered the person you're talking, or like what caused that, and like how can I prevent that in the future? I don't know. I feel like that's also important, and I'm really speaking for myself.
Self-reflection is huge. It's really important to, like, even if you feel like you made a mistake or you did something right or wrong, I don't know. I think it's really good to look back and be like, maybe I didn't handle that correctly or something like that. It is important. I agree.
I agree also.
So do you guys feel
No.
it's I agree.
I don't feel.
I agree. I'm cold and dark inside.
I am.
What is so wrong with us?
I like it.
Me too.
Wacky.
Oh, now we're going down south.
Here we are.
We're wacky.
I feel like I just got transported to like an alligator and airport. What? Alec, people probably think we're like drunk right now, and I swear we're not. I feel like that voice, like I was on an alligator and airboats tour in like
the
the
bayou.
Everglades.
Maybe that's my calling.
You know?
Imagine Kelsie picks up and leaves.
Welcome to the bayou. All right, I'm crying now. We're done.
Oh my God. Okay. Do you feel it's best to do major damage control after a mess up, or is it better to just own it and move on? Damage control. I think, well, right? No? I don't know.
No.
I mean,
Honey, you're entitled to your opinion. I just wasn't expecting you to be so like.
I feel like owning it is damage control. Because I think if you don't own it,
what do you guys define as damage control? Because I'm not clear.
I kind of feel like I interpret damage control as like backpedaling.
Oh.
But maybe that's incorrect.
No.
I feel like damage control, I think of like, we're going to put out the fire. And like,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree, I think.
When you say backpedal, you mean like?
I really don't know how to further define backpedal.
I guess I'm just looking for an example of like, how would you backpedal?
Well, I feel like damage control is like literally putting out the fire and like just to put out the fire. I don't know. And whereas like owning up to it, you're actually like,
Gotcha.
you know. So
Gotcha.
that's what I think, but I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I feel like that is kind of I feel like that's the sentiment of the question is like, do you just like get rid of the issue whether it's fully resolved or not, or do you like own it, talk about it, and resolve it and be done with it?
Mm-hmm.
I think own it, resolve it, hopefully be done with it. Hopefully you didn't do anything too bad that, you know what I mean? But I think you have to own it. You have to.
You have to own it. But sometimes it doesn't, it's like, unfortunately, not that simple. I feel like it can be something that like requires work. Mm-hmm. And it requires like, and I think you learn that within like, whether it be friendship, like, you know, family, whatever, you gotta work on it. If it's worth it to you, you work through it. And then when you decide it's not, it's not. That's all.
Because it's always,
That's all.
Because I mean, if you're the one who did the damage, it may not be easy to just like move on. Be like, sorry, I know I did that. Are we done? What?
Danny Kane, apparently, up in here.
Sorry.
Whenever you're done.
Well, I was going to try to get to damage, but I didn't realize how early off I started, so.
Too early in the verse. Too early in the verse.
I know. I was like, where, like. But if you're the one who did the damage, I think you have to kind of wait, like, you know, you can own it and then hopefully you can move on, but it may not be like, so we're done, right? We can just like keep this moving.
No.
You know, like you said,
Sometimes
the work might have
festers.
to go. Yeah.
Like, and you think about that for a while and it affects you and it, yeah.
What about you, Trace? Tracy, baby.
Well, you see here, kids,
You
I have a little bit of an internal struggle because the question was worded, is it best? And I know the answer to that question. But am I a hypocrite if I answer? I feel like the older I get, I hate confrontation more and more and more. And I have a tendency to do the damage control side of things. I feel like I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever you want me to say, we're done here. I want to just like be done with it. I also have said this too many times, but like I have trouble articulating or vocalizing my opinion or my feelings on things. Not my opinion.
I was going to say, that's a goddamn lie.
Back it up.
Throne of lies.
Facts are facts, baby, okay? But my emotions, not so much. And so I think sometimes I'm like, how difficult is it going to be to get this person to understand where I'm coming from? And if I feel like it's going to be an uphill battle, then I'm just like, yeah, you were right. Whatever, I don't care.
Exactly.
Which is not great, but I'm working on it, and I have the conscious mindset to know that owning it and having conversation is better. But sometimes like also like things just aren't that important. Like sometimes I'm like, why are we still talking about this? Like why is this still an issue? You know what I mean? So I prefer to not even have to get to the damage control phase. Like let's just, if there's something right here in the moment, let's talk about it, hash it out, and be done, rather than letting it fester.
I feel that.
And that's the hard part too, because it's like, but like I'm done talking about it. Like I thought we were done, but like you don't get. It's hard because like I don't get to tell you how you're feeling. It's like you get your. Why are we still doing this? It's like if you're still hurt, like, God damn it, you're still hurt, and I guess we'll keep this going. Yeah. Which I tend to be that person that's still hurt.
Oh.
I'm always like, but how am I feeling?
Remember that thing you did 2 years ago?
Because I don't.
I have a question for you guys, which is what is the difference? What is the difference between taking care of yourself like in your 20s? What did you define that as versus now? I know it's kind of a weird question.
No, that's a great question.
But I think it differs.
Taking care of myself, I thought it was like, we're going to go shopping, we're going to go drinking with the girls, and then like we'll hang out with the girls. Well, now self-care truly to me is like staying in with a face mask, watching The Nanny, and just being with myself and just reflecting and, you know, doing that little bit of self-care. That's a great question.
Tracy?
150%.
Yeah. And no
I completely agree with that. I do think that part of taking care of myself now has a lot to do with my me time and doing things just for myself, internalizing a lot, whether it is like sitting on the couch, putting a mask on, whatever I need to do. But I also think that going back to what I was saying earlier, for me, taking care of myself is thinking about my future. For me, it's making sure that the things that I say and that I do are building a solid foundation for myself moving forward, which I think sometimes, self-care, staying home and chilling by yourself instead of going out and getting drunk and spending money is building. I think they can go hand in hand, you know?
I agree.
But I think definitely like taking care of myself now is thinking ahead, where in the past I didn't at all, and I was just like, what's gonna give me that quick fix?
No, that's great. That's great. I think being okay with being alone is my self-care.
Yes.
Because I've always had I've had a pretty hard time like being alone. But this year I took a trip up to Gunkwit like by myself and like literally took a book, had like a 3-course meal, a couple glasses of wine. I was like, oh my God, I love me.
I remember you calling me and being like, Tracy, I've never felt so good. I'm like, I can literally hear it in your voice.
Yeah. It was just great because it like literally just removes you from your typical environment. It really gives you time to like think and reflect and see things like through your own eyes, literally by yourself, like walking around, just like taking time and it's sometimes it's hard for some people. I like both things, but alone time has been more prevalent and great later in life.
I feel like I had to learn how to like let people help me because I used to be like ultra independent, and I'm like, I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I'm like by my damn self. And it hasn't been good in relationships at all. My boyfriend now, it's something I'm working on, is letting him help me, because sometimes he'll try to help me and I get so frustrated. I'm like, I know that, like, just stop. And I'm like, he's just trying to help you. So I have to allow that, you know, give the space for that and let people help me, because I don't know. Yeah. It just helps your relationships and, you know.
Yeah, agreed.
Good point. Mm-hmm. I think that we have kind of touched upon this, because, well, we essentially have, but like saying all these mistakes are lessons. The whole like phrase, you live and you learn. Do you guys feel like that is pretty black and white, or do you feel like there are some things that won't change, or some things that people can't work on?
That's a good one.
Like yourself personally, like I think, you know, if you want to learn, then you will live and learn. If you want to take lessons out of things, you will. If you don't want to, you won't. Yeah. You'll just live in this state of like, I regret that. I think you have to want to learn from it.
I think you have the opportunity to learn from literally every situation and every conversation, and however you choose to do that is how you'll do it. You know, some people, I think, are deeper thinkers throughout life. Some people live like just in a different way. Like I would say that I'm a very deep thinker. I think about like literally every single thing. So I try to learn as much as I can from every situation. But some people just go through life and are blissfully happy. I think way too deep and fucking freak out all the time.
Especially the bad situations, because those ones tend to be the ones that you just are so upset about that you're like, how is there a good lesson out of that? Like, that was terrible. I hated every moment of it. So you have to really do the healing work and be like, okay, that sucked, but what did I learn from that?
See? Yes. The healing work. I like that. That's a good point.
That shit is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was very wise of both of you. I think that's true. But I think that I will say, like, I do feel like even people that want to, sometimes it takes a couple times. Like, have you guys seen that? There's like this little quote or meme that I feel like has been around Instagram these days. And it's like, sometimes you have to let go of the same person in multiple forms, multiple times before they're ever really gone. And so it's like, I think of that, I think in relationships a lot, or even your friendships. It's like, we may be attracted to that bad boy or that certain red flag or whatever it is. And like, you have to learn the hard way a couple times before it really sinks in. And I don't think that that's necessarily not wanting to. I think it's maybe a being naive or not having...
Ignorance is bliss. Or if you don't address it, it's quote unquote easier, but not in the long run.
So I think some lessons are just more difficult than others, and it takes a couple more times, where some things are like one and done. I don't need to go through that again, you know? So I think it just depends. But then, there are some people that I think just don't give a shit and don't want to do better and don't want to improve. As my friend Monica would say, they're unevolved.
I like that. And to your point, I feel like sometimes things aren't red flags until you actually realize they're a red flag.
Yeah.
Because I think back relationship wise, there's just like, I had to go through the same, not the same exact situation, but like maybe situations that are the same. And then after I got out, I was like, that's a red flag, Tanisha. Like, that's why you were miserable. Like, so, yeah.
It's so true.
Shall we do Dear TFS, or did you guys have?
Well, I would like to end on a little happy note.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't know if it'll be happy or not. Hopefully your answer's happy. With all you've gone through in your 20s, do you feel like you've come out stronger and you're content with the place you're at now? Are you content and you feel like there's still room to grow? Like, how do you feel with the struggles that you've gone through in your 20s and compared to like this moment?
I would say, definitely stronger. Definitely stronger. I learned so much in my 20s, so much. I definitely think I'm content. And I think I'm content because I think there's just so much more that's coming for me eventually. And instead of stressing about it, like I did in my 20s, like, where am I going to be when I turn 30? I was like, well, here I am. I'm 30. And I think you have to be happy in the now. I think.
Any advice to someone in their 20s right now trying to get through those hard times?
Oh, good Lord. You are that bitch. I'm kidding.
Say it, Tracy.
I know, I love that.
100%.
I love that.
The face with it.
That's the new That's Hot, just so you know.
Any advice? Look into yourself for the answers. You can't find that happiness anywhere else. You really can't. You just can't. And then sometimes that means self-reflection, cutting people out that you may not need to. But if they're meant to be in your life, they'll end up in your life. But yeah. I mean, and rely on your friends. They're there to help you. Let them help you. Let them in. Yeah.
My advice would be to be who you are unapologetically, whether it be from a style aspect or anything else. I look back at some people and I'm like, it's funny because I felt not that I conformed, but I'm definitely not super, super unique. I look back at people that really stood out with their talents or their fashion, and I really admire that.
Yeah.
I think you've always been a fashion forward, honey.
Thank you. But I'm Boston fashion. I've been called the basic bitch a couple times. I'll take that. I'll take that. Whatever. But no, I don't know. I just really admire people that can be themselves unapologetically so young.
Yeah.
It's very admirable. But it, to your point too, Tanisha, it's okay to lose people in your life that just weren't meant to be there too. That's another lesson that I think can be very hard to swallow. Because I think we've all gone through it, from friends to relationships to things like that. And it stings for a little while, but it wasn't meant to be. Yeah. So move on.
Totally.
What about you, Tracy?
I would say I'm very content, but I'm not complacent. I'm not, I don't think I ever want to be in a place where I feel like I don't have more work to do. I am very fortunate to have had the life that I've had, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think I always kind of have been able to come out on top of things. So I'm very grateful for that. But it's a never ending process, So you're still got to put the work in every single day. I think that for people in their 20s, don't sweat the small stuff, we spend way too much time over analyzing, trying to think about what other people's perceptions of you are, how you're stacking up or measuring yourself. I think we talked about this in the career episode too. Stay in your own lane, and I think your conviction and your character is more important than anything else. And as long as you stay true to that and be unapologetic about it, I think that's you're golden, honey.
And if you focus too much on that other stuff, day to day, you blink and then you're 30. So don't do that. Or
then you lose track of who you are.
What's that? It's a corny ass quote from Ferris Bueller. What's that quote? It's if you don't stop around. Why is she like this? Why? If you don't stop and look around at life, you're going to miss it or something like that. Look it up. I don't know.
Or life passes most people by while they're busy making grand plans for it.
Live.
What's that
laugh,
from?
Love.
Life's for living. That was my senior year quote, and I'll never live it down.
Hurley, do you know what that movie quote was that I just said? Blow? No one?
Oh. Weymouth, the Pride of Weymouth.
Tell me what you know about cocaine.
Oh.
That's what I took away from that movie.
Anyway, can I get on to Dear TFS?
Yeah, please. As you were.
Okay, Dear TFS, just a reminder, this is a... I always screw this up. This is what we do at the end of the episode. I'm always the end of the segment. We do it at the end of the episode. It's just basically, you guys will DM us with any issues, problems, happy things also apply, that you want addressed on the show. So here we go. After getting out of a toxic marriage with my former husband of 7 years, Voldemort, yes, I have that code name too.
Yes, girl.
Reserved for the worst of them, she says.
Heck yes.
I have been thrown into the dating world again. I've dated countless guys and I'm a sharer, so I tell, not with the guys, so I tell my friends and family the details every time. However, I'm starting to feel like the girl who cried new love interest, and my friends and family are quick to doubt my initial excitement, knowing it has a history of fizzling out. When do you think it's safe to start telling people about someone you're seeing? And how long should you spend getting to know a guy before deciding whether or not it's worth your time to continue pursuing or not? Sincerely, Broken Record.
Oh my goodness.
I think this is a very common situation that people find themselves in. First of all, very proud of you for getting out of your toxic marriage and realizing you deserve better and moving on. You are very strong, so kudos and hats off to you for doing that, girl. You have TFS in your corner, baby. Okay? But I think for me, my personal opinion, whenever you're comfortable sharing is the right time to share.
I agree.
I, myself, tend to wait. But, like, I know friends who are, like, have a first date and it's, like, they're so excited about him. And, like, if you're excited, like, don't hold back about it. If you're happy about somebody, then I would share it with the whole world. And, like, I think that maybe it's more about changing how you say it, like, you know, or just prefacing, like, I know it's really new. I know I'm still getting to know him, but so far things are going great. Things are going really well. And, like, I'm really excited about him. Who knows what the future holds, but I just wanted to tell you, like, I'm really happy about it. And I think that, like, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
She sounds like a hopeless romantic, which I think is really sweet.
Yeah.
Especially after that 7 years of marriage. Good on you, because not everybody would feel that way. So.
Yeah, I agree. And, like, you know what? If people judge you for thinking they're the one every time, let them judge you. Who cares? If you're happy,
I agree.
Soak up those happy moments. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I agree. If you are self-conscious, so, like, you know, you can change the wording. So you can, in your mind, you can be like, I love him. But to your friends, you're like, yeah, I, like, don't know where it's going to go. But
I'm just so coy and casual.
Yeah.
She kind of reminds me of Gigi from He's Just Not That Into You.
Oh, yes.
I love her.
It's giving me, like, Gigi vibes. And when she's, like, yelling at him and she's like, I may look stupid, but, like, I know I'm one step closer to finding love than you are. And I think that is the mentality that you should have. Like, don't let anyone else knock you down or make you feel silly or foolish. Like, you're putting yourself out there, and that's freaking tough. And you're trying, and you are, whether it's with this guy or the next one or the one after, you're that much closer to finding somebody the extreme polar opposite of Voldemort, and you are going to be just fine.
I agree.
Yeah. And trust your gut in terms of, like, when to decide if he's worth your time. Trust your gut. It never, ever lies.
Right.
I don't know why that made me think of, you know, those, it's like a TikTok. It's like, do you love him or is he just tall? Do you like him or does he just have a beard?
Yeah. 100%.
So just trust your gut on that. And, you know, sometimes you won't know right away. You just got to go for it.
Hurley, when do guys start telling their friends about dates?
No idea. My friends are very closed off.
They don't, the guys, like, don't talk about it very much?
My friends don't know.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that insight.
But do you talk about getting laid? So you don't talk about anything.
Wow, you guys sound really
You
close.
talk about getting laid, liar. You lie like a rug, but you don't get laid, apparently.
Okay, well, I was just curious. Like, I feel like, you know, us girls get, like, super insecure of, like, oh, I don't want to sound like I like him too much because he probably is not talking about me. But, like, I feel like guys have their little locker room talk just as much
I
as
agree.
girls do.
Well, can I just say about this? I don't like, you know, when you think it's safe. It should always be safe to talk to your friends and family about these things.
Yes,
like,
that's
you
very
know,
true.
And if they're making you feel that way, that's not cool. And I think that it's fair to communicate that with them. Like, I'm just trying to share my happiness with you and, like, share an update, and that's all. So
I agree.
Good for you for, you know, testing the waters and getting back out there so quick. Not quickly, but, like, just getting back out there in general. So snaps.
I agree.
When do you guys normally tell people?
Immediately. It's just who I am.
I mean, probably immediately. I'll be like, I'm going on a date, and
Yeah.
I give the updates on how it's going, and then
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely a hopeless romantic where I'm like, to you guys, I'm like, yeah, like, we'll see it inside. I'm like, yeah, that's my husband.
It's also so exciting.
I feel like it's a little bit more obvious than you think it is.
When you're like dating and stuff, it's so exciting too.
I feel seen.
I feel seen.
I feel like I'm like I guess I shouldn't say that like I don't talk about it. I just don't I would be honest and like say, but I'm more of like I'm not gonna text you and be like, I'm going on a date tonight, guys. What do I do? I feel like the next time I see you, I'll be like, oh yeah, I went with this guy on Tuesday. Like just like when it's convenient.
Yeah,
you know?
I told you guys before, and then you were at my date, so I
Yeah.
So don't do
If
that.
you guys didn't listen to the introduction episode when I spied on Tanisha's first date,
Listen to it.
it's a good one. You should listen to it.
Do it.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. We had a lot of fun today. Hope you had fun listening to us. If you would like to follow, like, subscribe, comment, you can follow what we're doing on Instagram, 30 Surviving Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and iHeart, or you can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah. And you know what, kids? You can actually check us out on the Tick of the Talk, too.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. 30 Flirty Surviving.
It's fine. Let's blow over it.
At TikTok.
Hey, kids.
Yeah, we're on TikTok too. We're sharing some episode clips, some like, not seen before footage that's on the gram. So like go over there, and also, sometimes we do a little comedy. We answer some questions.
Yeah.
Out of it.
Check it out.
Yes.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.